15, and let me, Senator Haynes, open up by owning up to my own conflict. My father was a public school superintendent of schools. He decided when I was 8 I needed to get sent away from home to go to a private Catholic boarding school. Your bill would have disallowed that.
Correct.
I can't. And no one could have been more dedicated to those kids than he was. You can imagine that.
Fair enough.
And but he couldn't have shipped me off to where he thought I needed to have special attention, and that to me is pretty awful. Intrusion on the family, to use your own terms.
No, it's, in this particular instance, the decision of I'll go through. SB 715 is a relatively simple bill. It just says if you're a public school teacher, it doesn't necessarily apply to administrators, as a condition of their employment. And this is the critical side. It's a condition of their employment in a public school would have to send their children to a public school either in the district where they teach or the district where they live. Interestingly enough, Senator Vasconcellos, in your district, 16% of the public school teachers use private schools. In Los Angeles, in the LA Unified School District, 30% of the public school teachers send their kids to private schools. In Sacramento, 21% of the teachers send their children to private schools. I mean, my basic concern is this. What do they know that we don't? The essence of what happens is none of these teachers are poor, and yet they subject the kids, to those who are poor, to a poor education, while they exempt their own children from the results of that education. There's a sense of, there's also an hypocrisy here. At the same moment this morning, I was listening to the radio and I heard the teachers union say, give us more money, give the schools more money. But if you count the $7,174 per student that the teachers are removing themselves from the, that the teachers themselves are removing from the system, the teachers themselves, by their decision to put their children in private schools, are removing over $100 million from our public schools. LA schools are being robbed of $22 million. San Diego's losing 3.2, San Francisco's losing 3 million, and San Jose's losing 2.3 million because teachers who receive money out of the school district won't put their own kids in the school district. So when I first introduced this bill, a CTA spokesman said to a newspaper in my district, people have a right to put their children in private schools. I agree. Yet CTA, however, doesn't put their money where their mouth is. In fact, they will deprive poor children of the same choices their own members have right now. That's the purpose of this bill. You know, it's the biblical entreaty is, woe to you lawyers, is what it says. You impose burdens on others, but don't accept them upon yourselves. This is sort of the teacher version of that. If you wish to impose something on someone else who doesn't have enough money to protect themselves from the vagaries of the public school system, you ought to subject yourself to those same vagaries.
Witness in support of the bill.
Natalie Williams with Capital Resource Institute, and in opposing the recent voucher initiative, California teachers unions did claim that removing children from the public school would deplete needed funding and have a bad effect on the public school system. So our position is if the unions do believe their own arguments, they should enthusiastically endorse this bill and return their children to the system that they strongly support. And we're happy that Senator Haynes has brought this bill before you.
Senator Haynes, where your bill reads, it says certificate. It says my father would have been forbidden to send me to a school, to a Catholic school, okay, for my own needs.
Fair enough.
You claim to be family, and you wouldn't allow them to do that?
No, they could send their kids. They could send their kids to a private school if they chose not to teach in a public school.
Give up their job.
No, I mean there's lots of jobs out there. If you want to teach in a public school.
My father was a 30-year public school devotee. And because I needed some special treatment at a private school, you would have him fired. That's just abominable.
I would not have had him fired. He would have made the decision voluntarily.
That's your credibility entirely, lady, let me tell you. Next witness.
For support or opposition?
Anybody else in support? Opposition?
Sherry Orland with the Superintendent of Public Instruction in opposition to the bill, because we believe limiting the choices of public school teachers to be able to educate their children where they wish infringes on their rights, and we see no compelling reason why they should be restricted and other parents not.
Okay, next witness.
Mike Weimer, California Federation of Teachers. We oppose the bill for the same reasons.
Next witness.
Sharon Scott Dow with the California Teachers Association. We don't believe that the figures that the senator has given are accurate. We have consistently polled our members, 300,000 of them, and they tell us that more than 90% of our members send their children to public schools, and of those, more than half of those send them to religious schools. So I don't see a purpose of this bill other than to just bring up the voucher issue again. So we'd ask that we have a no vote on the bill.
Bill's for or against the bill?
If
Senator
I
Haynes, you want
may-
to close on the bill, please?
If I may close, the numbers were pulled directly out of the U.S. Census. These were the numbers, and they were consistent. The 1980 and the 1990 census indicated in both years the numbers have been relatively consistent. They're pulling the numbers out of the 2000 census. Early reports indicate that indeed the numbers for 2000 are consistent with the numbers for 1980 and 1990. I will say this. I believe, as the superintendent of public instruction her representative just said, and what the California Federation of Teachers representative just said, is that students and parents deserve more options, not less. They are willing, however, to put their money to deprive people who do not have money of options. Their members who have money, not one of which would fall within the poverty line, they have options because they have money. There are hundreds of thousands of poor parents right now who are locked in public schools that the unions have spent hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars trying to prevent them from having choices. Now, I brought this up just so they'd get up here and say this. I apologize for wasting the committee's time, but I am sick and tired of the hypocrisy, and I'll withdraw the bill.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the consent calendar.